From the time that I got sick until I was diagnosed, it was about 3.5 years. I first started showing symptoms when I was 12 years old. They were really subtle at first. We just thought I had the flu, but over time they started to get worse and I started to get new symptoms. And so by the time I was 15, I had seen many doctors. Most of them had told me that I was crazy or that I was stressed out or depressed or anxious or something along those lines. And so when I was in my freshman English class, we had an assignment to write a 15-page research paper, and I chose to write it on Lyme disease, which was a total coincidence. But as I was researching the symptoms and people's stories, I started to realize that what I was going through was really similar to what I was reading. And around the same time, my mom had a few friends who were telling her to get me tested. And so we finally went to a Lyme doctor when I was 15, and he tested me, and sure enough, it came back positive.
The time frame from when I got bit to when I was diagnosed was about 9 days, and then was on the antibiotic for 3 weeks. It was in early July, and if I have my, I kind of look back after I realized I had Lyme and kind of made some assumptions as to when I probably was bitten. And it was probably on a Thursday, which would have been the first Thursday of July, I forget the date, because I was on a bike ride on vacation, and we're in northeastern Pennsylvania, wooded, kind of rugged, rural kind of countryside. And I was on a mountain bike ride on gravel roads, and I stopped a couple times to take some photographs because it's really, really pristine, rural countryside. And at one of those times I stopped to take some photographs, I kind of climbed up a bank, overgrown with brushes and so forth, and because there were some old farm stone walls, and so I was taking pictures of these stone walls. So I'm pretty sure that it was that particular bike ride on that particular day that I was bitten.
Piano is a huge part of my life. Music in general is a huge part of my life. Throughout everything that I've gone through, it's been the one thing that I've still been able to do. I had to quit softball, I had to quit flag line for marching band in high school. Even when I couldn't go to school for months at a time, or I couldn't walk and I was in a wheelchair, during all of that I was still able to play the piano. And somewhere in that time, I just grew this passion for it, and now it's such a huge part of my life, and it's kind of an outlet for me. Music just allows me to express myself, and when I'm having a bad day or I'm not feeling well, I can sit down and play, and it just takes all of the stress away for me. And it's how I show my strength, I guess. I can't run around like everybody else. I can't do sports, or sometimes I can't even get out of bed. But with piano, that's the one thing that I can do that I can be strong at. And so it means a lot to me, and it's a huge part of my life. As far as band goes, the band in Malone is absolutely amazing. I never expected to come to college and to be a part of a band like this. I figured when I joined it that I'd be playing music and maybe make a couple friends, but I never expected that I would have so much support from everybody there, and I feel such love from the band. So it's really an amazing group to be a part of.
So in all this, Wendy and I have been married for 38 years. We've got a really good thing going. I'd be the first to say, the people who say they've been married for 38 years and it's all been perfect, those are the people that scare me. Marriage is it's hard, right? And we've been working at this for 38 years, and we've got some good things going. We've never had to experience anything like this, right? We've been really blessed with good health, and we've had tragedies we've had to deal with losses of family members and so forth, but never a time when one or the other of us has had to rely so heavily on the other.
My faith is definitely a huge part of my life, and it's definitely grown a lot over the past few years that I've been struggling with this disease. There have been times when I lost pretty much everything, And so sometimes it felt like I didn't have anything left in my life. But God is definitely, he keeps nudging me along and telling me to keep going. He gives me strength on the days that I need it. One of my good friends who has Lyme always says God schedules me, and that's so true. Anytime I have any kind of event or anything I need to be at, I somehow have enough strength and enough energy to make it. And so I think, God definitely plays a role in that. He gives me peace when I'm worried. As you can imagine, this illness can bring a lot of stress in your life, and it can cause a lot of fear, especially about the future. And so, my faith has definitely given me peace to calm that fear. There have been times when I've been really lonely and isolated, when I couldn't go anywhere. I was just in my bed all the time. And so, God was always right there next to me through all of that. And so that has definitely kept me going.
Because you start to question things. Why am I feeling like this? And because you don't know what the answer is. And I thought a lot about this once I knew about Megan and knew what her experience was. I can remember very vividly in the middle of that first week before I went to the ER. So it was about Wednesday or Thursday. And I was again talking to Winnie, and I said, I've always been kind of the glass is half full kind of guy. I'm always the optimist and so forth. I said, I don't know what depression might be like, but it seems to me like this might be depression. And if it is, why am I depressed? And so it was an example of these questions that you start having that you don't know what to do with. Well, that's also in a way of saying, okay, once I knew it was Lyme and that question was answered, it is, why me? Why now? Lord, you've got me to Malone. I know I'm supposed to be at Malone. There's a lot to do. Why would you have me just for 3 or 4 or 5 weeks doing nothing when it's so important? It's so important what you've asked me to do. And so that was kind of one of those core questions that I was struggling with. I have a high degree of certainty about what you're asking me to do. Now all of a sudden it's like you're telling me, but oh, by the way, I want you to sit down and be quiet and not do anything because you can't, nor should you. And so there was that dynamic going on. And so what I did was to use that. I tried to use the time as constructively as possible. And so I really got into a routine a lot more than I would normally in the summertime, although I try to do this in the summer anyway, of a daily routine of, number one, resting as much as I could, but number two, using almost the entire morning for just reading, prayer, and reflection, and just sitting still. And in those 2 weeks I'm referring to, it's mostly in the morning outside on the porch in the Adirondack chair, just reading, prayer, and reflection. And then in the afternoon, trying to do some things, but also not, again, doing too much, to get a little more reading and so forth. And so it really was a time of kind of, driving me back more closely in my relationship with him. And so I think there were a couple of learnings out of that. One, it was a reminder to me, don't ever get out of touch with my relationship with God. I don't think that's why I had Lyme disease, but it was a result of having Lyme disease. It was a reminder, stay really close in my daily discipline, so to speak. But secondly, it was a reminder that there are things outside of my control, so don't fret about those. Deal with the things you can control and accept the things you can't control.
When I first heard that Dr. King had Lyme, I just got this sinking feeling in my stomach, and that's how I feel anytime I hear somebody that somebody has Lyme, because I know it can be a really hard battle to go through. But I am really glad that he knew what to do. He went and he got treatment immediately so that he was able to treat it really fast and catch it before it had the chance to spread and to grow, like it did for me. And so, yeah, early treatment is definitely a huge key to managing Lyme disease and to getting rid of it.